We got dancer, director, actor, producer, the lady of infinite talents, Logan Vaughn.
What's up, you guys? I'm so happy to be here, and I have my white wine.
Oh, thank you for coming on,
Welcome.
Logan.
Thank you
welcome,
for having
welcome.
me.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
So, you have a new show that you're directing with MCC called The Light, written
right.
by Loy Webb.
That's
correct?
right. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that and what drew you to this play.
Wow, where do I begin? So it's a beautiful story. It's a two-hander. Genesis and Rashad set in Chicago, present day. But it's a really, Loy and I like to start with, it's a love story.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really very much about two people who are in love, and they feel very much that they know one another. They know each other like they know their names, right? So they are really bonded.
Mm-hmm.
But on this particular night, there is information that's disclosed that that shakes that bond, that changes them.
Mm-hmm.
It takes place in real time. It's a beautiful story. It's tragic and hard in many ways, but it is definitely hopeful at the end. Very rarely do you see Black love on stage, and these are two people in their 30s and who love each other, and you don't get to see that on stage as often as you should. It's a really tight, hard punch in an hour and a half, and it really leaves you changed in an hour and a half. And I love work that way.
Chills.
Yeah,
Sounds amazing.
It's really it's incredible, and I feel really gifted to be a part of it.
Prior to direction, you have a huge history of trying so many different things, and I know you were a casting director with Lee Daniels. So I'm just curious,
Well, casting director at The Goodman, right?
Casting director at The Goodman, yeah.
and
Lee
then Harvard.
Daniels is actually how I got into casting.
Into The Goodman. Oh,
Yeah,
into casting.
Into casting, yeah.
Okay.
I was interning with him, and I mean, it's really wild. I do tell people that Lee Daniels changed my life. And one day I'll see him again and be able to really express that again to him, because I haven't seen him since I was like 20 years old. 21 years old.
But what a path he helps lead you.
Yeah,
That's
I really
amazing.
did. I told him how much I wanted to, how interested I was in casting, and I was my last year of film school, and he basically said to his sister, "You're going to give her this job, and you're going to give her this opportunity," and it really sent me on a path that changed my life. Yeah,
That's amazing.
So I'm very, very grateful for that time.
Yeah, that's incredible. Who knew that, something that would not be that much for someone to say, just like a minor recommendation could just change the whole trajectory of somebody.
That's actually it for all of us out here listening. You can change someone's life in a second. And I really believe that. I practice it. I try to share that with people, because some things that are nothing to us, it was nothing for him to call his sister and say, give her this job, but it was so changing for me, and that's something that we all have to just be mindful of, that you could just take 2 seconds and change someone's world.
So I am curious, besides your work with him, but just also, being a dancer, being an actor, being in casting, how has this shaped where you are now as a director? Has it influenced you?
Oh, in a big way. I mean, as a casting director, I was working at one of the most magnificent theaters in the country, at the Goodman, and my associate Adam Belcourt, I think he taught me everything in terms of casting. He was a really amazing mentor and teacher. He was like a brother. And then Steve Scott, my producer there. And so I had the instinct and the intuition, but they really helped to cultivate that part of me and that voice. And to be honest, I tell young directors all the time, I'm like, you should find an internship in casting. You learn how to communicate with actors. You get to watch some of the best directors and casting directors, hopefully, talk to actors, and it just helped to sort of shape my voice in a big way as a director. And then, you know, the life of being a dancer, I mean, you know, dancers just understand the body, and we have great empathy for the body. And so with my actors, I always try to handle them with care and treat them with care and sensitivity to their bodies and their spirits. And you also just learn how to make a play move, you know, visually. So it's very much shaped how I work, you know, sometimes directly when it's a musical, right? But then always sort of indirectly in the work that I do in plays too, because you need, and you know how a transition moves. That is a full narrative story too.
Right.
Transitions. So that, you know, that part of me has helped that in a big way.
So you did another two-hander called The Agitators up at Jiva Center in upstate New York, right? What are some of the elements that excite and or challenge you when you do two-handers? Because the light is also a two-hander.
Yeah. So this is actually my third two-hander.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So a human being died that night, which
Okay.
I did at Mosaic Theater in DC. A freaking incredible play.
Yeah.
Incredible play. And it all takes place in one cell, like in an it's an interview cell in a prison. So that was my first two-hander.
Wow, I'm firing my research department.
Fire her. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, it's the third one. So I
No, it's just
It was him.
yeah, it's me.
He's the research
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
He's the research guy. But it's, you know, I love them. I love them because they are so intimate. And even like at Jiva, that's a huge house. I mean, that's a big, big theater. It was their first time doing a two-hander, in their main stage. And so, of course, the thought is, how do we fill that space, right? But it is very much about, well, it starts at the story. That's everything, right?
Yeah.
All three of these plays are dynamic, impactful, just beautifully done plays. So it starts there, but then also casting. You know, you really have to have two dynamic people who have beautiful chemistry with one another.
Right.
And then we go back to that casting and see, this is where casting has helped me so much, because I was a part of casting two-handers when I was a casting director. And now in my work as a director, I feel like I've been able to have the experience of knowing what it needs, you know? And both of those, you know, The Agitators and A Human Being Died that night, I was so lucky to have found my actors for those two shows. They were impossibly beautiful with one another. And I feel really certain that McKinley Belcher and Mandy Masden, who are our two actors for The Light, will be as well. But the challenge is always, you know, how you fill the space with two people.
Yes.
And sometimes they don't even leave the stage.
So something that you said that really affected me before was that I agree with is that you often don't get to see Black love in their 30s in like a loving, healthy relationship. And I agree with you. I feel like people try to make drama by pitting people against each other. So I love that is something that's going to be reflected in your show. And I'm curious, you know, as a Black female director who there are not that many that are supported, and there are not that many that are given recognition. Like, do you feel that that's part of something that you're going through as well? Like, that you're not someone that necessarily is shown?
Well, I mean, how do I feel about that? I think because I'm someone that I don't like to wait for the gates to be open. I like to build the gate,
Cool.
right?
Yeah.
So, and I again pass that to younger directors, particularly younger directors of color, because people aren't opening the gates for us.
Right.
And you know, my contemporaries who have had less work than me get more opportunities sometimes, or it's happened in the past. And you know, our work can be superb, but we still, you know, in terms of hiring us people still act as though it's taken a chance. But yet, you know,
even if you've proven yourself time
every
and time
single
again.
time, every single time,
Right.
and we'll make exceptional work, and still a little chancy, you know. And it's like, okay, well, we can't change systems, right? You know, it's systems that reach so beyond us. So for me, it's been about how I cultivate my own work and really harness the time that I have and the opportunities I have with the collaborators, the playwrights that I love and are making changing stories that I want to get behind. And that has been very successful for me. And then the other part to it is that there's other mediums for us to be seen and for us to show our work and for me to direct. For obvious reasons, like television is a medium that there are more people of color in places of hiring, and so we're there more.
Right.
And it keeps, and those numbers keep building in a way that theater is very behind.
Agreed.
It is so behind. It should be embarrassed.
Yeah.
You know. But I say this to young people all the time. I'm like, stop waiting and stop and forget about the complaining, right? Build your own gate. Make it for yourself.
Don't worry about someone opening the gate for you. You make your gate.
And honey, you'll be waiting forever.
Right.
You'll be waiting. Because again, you cannot change these systems. What you can do is move over here and do a different thing.
Oh, make your own system.
That's right.
Yes.
It really, I mean, so that's really how I feel about it. Yes, our numbers are way too low.
Right.
And
I
think
Jacob said something similar. Jacob Padron, who's the
Yes,
like
Lone
the numbers,
Wolf, artistic director.
The numbers tell a different story, even though there's a big push to make theater more diverse. It's like some theater companies, they tout all this great diversity numbers, but when you actually crunch them, it's
when
like,
you crunch
I
those numbers,
did a spreadsheet. And
Right.
I love a spreadsheet. I love a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah.
Those are facts.
Facts are facts.
Because I mean, like the thing about it is that diversity is not bringing in 1 to 2 artists in a full season. That is not diversity.
Right.
Okay, 2 out of 15. That is minority still.
Yeah.
We're looking at minority, and then majority is yes. Okay, when you're looking at a full season, that's all, you know, Black playwrights or all Asian American playwrights or all Middle Eastern American playwrights. You know, if you're looking at a season that is, let's look at this diaspora and let's bring those stories and let's bring those artists, and I mean also us at the helm of making those too.
Not just it, but also
that is also another pattern that happens, is that we will do plays centering on you know, a Korean American family or experience, but then we won't actually have a Korean American or Asian American director at the helm of them.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Oh man. Oh man. That's the tea. That's the tea.
Yes.
I can think of like 10 shows that I'm not gonna say, but we all know what they are.
We don't want to name names,
but
you know
who
you
are.
Yeah, it's like we'll bring the story, but we still want to be at the helm of it.
Yeah.
We still should tell the story.
Absolutely,
And
there are inherent problems in that.
There are
inherent problems.
And of course, the reverse doesn't happen, right? So I'm not asked to come and direct the all-white company.
Right. Here we go.
That doesn't.
But you should be.
Yep.
Okay.
If they were smart.
You know. Well, I believe. Listen, the truth of the matter is that like.
Right. When are you gonna direct your giant like Arthur Miller play?
Yeah, Long Day's Journey into Night. Why aren't you?
Let's talk about my love of O'Neill.
Yeah, right.
But nobody wants to talk about Logan's love for O'Neill.
Yeah.
Right? They come, you know,
Right.
come do this other play.
Right.
But not O'Neill. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Genesis and
Yes.
are having a great night.
I mean, you know, but
Let's bring in Logan.
Just as a note, I do love Eugene O'Neill. Anyone out there?
There we go. Listen,
he's really good.
Theater is for everybody. Listen,
Yes.
you know what I mean? There are influences. We all get influenced by people, and we all love theater. Come on, man. Come on.
Exactly. And we can make it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
So speaking of directing things, how do you describe your directorial aesthetic?
That's a good question. You know, I mean, for obvious reasons, like one's aesthetic has to be malleable as you approach a different play, right? But you know, my biggest thing is that it has to change someone. So visually, it's always rich, and a little hint of magic or a lot of magic, you know, and it has a punch, you know. So from my actors and who I choose to be the vessels of telling the story, to the visual world, I'm really inspired by fine artists. So from a Cara James Marshall to Rothko to Mackenzie Wiley. So, you know, I use fine artists and also sculptors as a way to start initial conversations with my designers.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, every director has a different way of sort of approaching it, but I always think that it's a really beautiful visual bridge for us to understand like the world that we're speaking of. So yeah, I mean, a hint of magic, strength, love, passion. You know, that is, I would say, Logan's aesthetic.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, in that same vein, because you are someone who has lived in different places, Houston, Chicago, and now New York.
New York City.
How do those influence your directing style as well?
That's a great question, actually. You know, when I was growing up in Texas, it's a great question. When I was growing up in Texas, I could not wait to get out of Texas, right? I was like, okay, this is not for me. Right. I didn't even apply to schools in the South. I was like, I got to get out of here. Right. But, you know, give yourself a little time, right? So in retrospect, I'm so thankful that I came from that place. And I would say, how does those cities influence me? Houston in particular, Texans. You can find a lot of different Texans, but one thing I will say is that Texans will tend to be, you know, sort of able to be present and stand still with you and listen. You know, we're not in a rush. And so, for obvious reasons, we live in New York City, and we know what the city does to us, right?
We are only in a rush.
Like,
we have no time.
Everything.
I mean,
right?
it's like if you're not walking up an escalator, I'm pissed off.
Yeah, exactly. You're like,
you know what I mean?
You know,
let's
and people don't.
Do you have a backpack on in the subway right now?
Right,
I'm
exactly.
not here for this.
We're so over everything. And for me, like, even down to just saying hello to someone, you know, that like when you're going into Walgreens, that is something that came from my upbringing in Texas. So there's a level of patience and just kindness and ability to be present that translates to my work as a director, with my playwrights, with my my creative team, and of course with my actors. Chicago, well, listen, Chicago is the greatest theater town in this country.
Ooh, wow. Shots fired. Shots fired.
Guns
Damn.
are out.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Does it feel like guns are blazing right now? Right?
No, it feels like Chicago's in the house.
Pulling it out of the holster? You know, Chicago,
what are you going to say next? Chicago has the best pizza? Oh, get the f*** out of here.
I don't know if I would say that. No, I'm not going that far.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'm
we're
not
talking
going that
sense.
far. I'm not going that far. But
Castle.
Just got to make sure we know where we stand.
Yeah. So, okay, you still have the pizza. You still have the pizza.
Truth.
But, you know, the thing about Chicago is that it's about making the work. It's about the art. And Chicago takes care of its artists, and we love each other. And I'm still speaking of it as if I live there, but it is very much rooted in me and in my blood at this point. So, you know, New York, for a myriad of reasons, does become about capital. It becomes about money often.
Oh, man, I feel that. Yeah, I feel that.
New York.
We know it.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not a secret.
People don't want to
Hey,
talk about
Amazon.
it sometimes, but you know, it's the truth. Where Chicago, of course, Chicagoans love to make money. Theaters make money there, plenty of money. But it is about the work first. And then New York City, well, New York City is, I'll say, the greatest town to cultivate art.
Right.
Can we say
Yeah,
that?
sure.
Yeah. I mean,
I'll
'cause
take
we're,
that.
yeah,
I would
right?
say like the capital of culture and commerce.
Yes.
Honestly, of this country.
I would
think
agree
so.
with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Right.
And so with that, how could it not be a great place to be
Right.
Yeah.
an artist and at least spend time?
Yeah.
And for us, we're lucky enough to live here and to maybe have a part of our lives or, you know, all of our lives
Right.
here. But I don't think anybody should have all of their lives anywhere. That's another thing.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
It comes to that time where we want to get the youth here. This is why it's a YouTube show, and we're wondering if you could give advice to
Yeah.
your younger self, but also to people out there that are aspiring theater makers.
Yeah, what would I tell younger Logan? I think about this all the time. I first would say just be patient with yourself and be kinder. Take your time and everything will be okay. Everything will be okay. That's what I would say. I worried so much that it wouldn't be okay, but it always was okay. So that's first and foremost. And then the next would just be trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust when something feels good and it feels like the right path to be on. And then trust when it feels like that time has ended and it's time to go a different direction. That I came to much sooner. The worrying still kind of stayed with me for a while.
I mean, that's humanity. That's
Yeah,
being human.
I know,
Yeah.
but I worry so much less now, you know. And then thirdly, I would probably say have fun, have more fun. You know, life is short. Yeah, so have more fun, smile more, laugh more. You know, even though I felt like I was always like a pretty positive, you know, kid into my, you know, 20s, but still there was probably room to laugh even more. You know, it keeps you young, it keeps you alive. So young artists, that's it.
Yeah,
young
absolutely.
artists. Heed all those things I just said, right? And then don't be afraid to try many things. Someone will tell you, because someone always says this, you need to decide. You don't need to decide. Okay? You don't need to decide yet. You'll know what lane you're supposed to be in eventually. But you have to be a fuller human. So, you know, I was obsessed and still am with fine art, with cinema. I mean, that's how I ended up going to film school. So I was a little cinephile, still am, but less time to see it as much as I want. And I read all the time, but you have to try different things. It will make you a better artist and whatever you decide you're going to be. So whether you're a playwright, director, you know, cinematographer, it actually, all of those things will end up making
enriching,
you
like what you are. And who
yeah.
you are.
So go out there and do a bunch of things. Live.
So we're coming to the tail end of our interview now.
This is so good.
This is beautiful. So, as with all our guests, we ask them to recommend something to our audience because we're a show that recommends good theater. We ask our guests to recommend whatever they want to our viewership. Whatever you want.
Anything.
Anything, huh?
Anything you want. You can give it to the middle camera or you can
Okay.
give it to the close-up over there. If you want to get intimate, that's the close-up. That's the medium and over here. So whatever you
I'll
want.
do it here.
Go.
I feel like I haven't, you know, had some time there. Let's see. Theater. Play to see. The Slave Play.
Woo!
Yeah. If you can get in to see it,
good.
see it. Robert O'Hara is he is one of my mentors, and he took me under his brilliant wing. He is a brilliant, brilliant artist, and Jeremy O'Harris is another young, brilliant artist that I've had a chance to meet and just really love his spirit so much. But Robert I've known for so long, and it's brave, it is bold, it is what theater should be. Because you can't, that's right, you can't you put your toe in it, you have to submerge, and that's what it does. And it's scary, and it should be. So there's a little theater I'm recommending. I also, we were just talking about this earlier, I just saw Roma. Alfonso Cuarón. Yes, see it. It is just an exquisite piece of art that
Date night.
left me. It is a date night for sure.
Nice.
Or see it, with your girlfriend. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, or by yourself. Let's just see it. Just you have to see it. And then a little fun thing: drink apple cider vinegar. Adopt it into your daily regimen. Men and women. It's a life changer.
There it is.
You can send me a little Instagram message or email me, and we can talk about how it's changed my world.
Oh my God.
Specifically, but it will change your world. Yeah.
Respect.
So for today, I'm gonna say those are my
Great.
Those are fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. So
Cheers.
awesome.
This has been a pleasure.
You guys are the best. Oh, wow.
Thank you.